just to give an introduction of myself, who I am. My name's Fiona. I am a human design consultant and digital nomad. And I work with conscious entrepreneurs to help them work through the things that are holding them back, which is usually fears of failure, fear of judgment, fear of being seen, limiting beliefs, like feeling like an imposter, not feeling good enough, not feeling ready enough, all those things. And I then help them discover how they're naturally designed to show up, their natural talents and abilities, and help them expand their comfort zone so that they can go and utilize all the natural gifts and abilities that they have to help them attract more aligned opportunities for themselves. So that's a little bit about me. And today I have the absolute pleasure of inviting Alexis here to have a chat with me. She is a emotion code expert and holistic integrative life coach.
Life coach, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So welcome. Tell us a bit about your journey and how you got into what you're doing today.
Thank you so much for having me, Fiona. I'm so glad that you reached out because much like yourself, I help people reach their full potential. I use the system of emotion coding and also integrative life coaching, which is taking assessments of mind, body, and spirit connection to enhance people's lives by ridding them of anxiety, deeply rooted trauma experiences that are influencing their everyday life that can show up as things like maladaptive behavior, addictions, an inability to connect in relationships, struggles with jobs and reaching their full potential in their careers, as well as a slew of other things. Pretty much anything negative in your life that you can name, it's likely due, as a pattern, it's likely due to some sort of trapped emotions that you have in the body. My personal journey to this work is really kind of standard in the sense that I took a more traditional path in the beginning, studying psychology and mental health counseling. But after that, I went to Paris and I studied at Le Cordon Bleu to become a chef. And it was in that process that I learned the deep connection between food as medicine and how food is used to heal our bodies. Growing up in the States, there was a lot more of a disconnect from the influences that food have on us. So when I was studying there, I realized that there was this really intense connection that led me on a journey to studying with chefs and shamans alike across 5 continents, learning about not only food as medicine, but deep-rooted spiritual practices for healing. All of this greatly heightened my intuitive capacity and led me to the work that I do today, which is combining this trifecta of mind, body, and spirit work to help people heal. And emotion code is one of the main ways in which I utilize this skill of intuitive capacity that I have. Which is simply the process of removing trapped emotions directly from the subconscious and ridding you of them forever. You know, we think that there is, in traditional mental health counseling, there's this element of you having to onboard a lot of new skills in order to change the problems that you have, as well as this process of revisiting old traumatic experiences in an effort to rid yourself of them. But I found in my traditional therapeutic work that that's really not the most successful avenue for most people, because most people come to you because they have a sheer lack of hope and intrinsic motivation. And so when you feel hopeless, when you feel like you're completely unmotivated towards your own success, and you have deep senses of worthlessness and feeling unworthy and shame and guilt, you can't just get up and start eating vegetables and drinking water. You can't just sit down and meditate and, utilize these cognitive behavioral theories or therapies to like mitigate your problems. You've got to begin to rid yourself of these concerns from the root, not just symptom mitigation. And that's really where emotion code work comes in. Plucks these weeds out from the root and conditions the soil so that they don't come back.
I love that. Thank you so much. And you do a lot of work in your garden as well. So
I
I like
definitely do.
praise.
The homestead is all of the things for me. I would love to hear a bit more about your journey to human design. I know you have a much more 9 to 5 type past. So I would love for you to share how you integrated human design into what you do now.
Yeah, absolutely. So from a very young age, from as back as childhood, primary school age, I always struggled with communication and speaking up in front of people. If the teacher was coming my way or even looking at me, my heart would be out of my chest. I'd have narrow vision, like cold sweats, like actual anxiety from such a young age with just speaking in front of people. And I mean like around the dinner table, like not just big rooms of people. So it was really a problem. And then, going into university, I studied psychology, and we had to give like a presentation to our tutor groups. And I would be literally dissociated from my body, and then like stumble back to my seat. So yeah, that was really, really hard, pushed through. Then I started my career as a performance and data analyst, and I was very comfortable behind my computer and my Excel spreadsheets. But when it came to, bigger things like team meetings and things like that, I would never put myself in a position to like speak up. And then, yeah, COVID happened, and I had a big desire to start a health coaching business. So I qualified, started the business, and I had this realization that in order to be a business owner and essentially a leader, I had to find my voice. So I got a business coach, and she coached me based on my human design. And that is what changed my entire life, not just business, but you can imagine relationships, health, everything. I learned about how to work in alignment with myself. I learned you can also see in the human design chart, where you're most susceptible to conditioning, where you're most vulnerable, things like that. And then, you can look into those areas and pull out those fears and things like that are going on. So I worked through that. I started going to these networking events and doing 60-second pitches, and I was petrified. I was running from the toilet before my 60 seconds, like really petrified. And I just kept going back every week for a couple months. And then I expanded my comfort zone. I learned how I'm designed to communicate in a way that's best for me based on my human design, started utilizing that and pushed myself out of my comfort zone and kept expanding that. Then I did workshops, and then I did bigger events. And, then I was being hosted on all different platforms and podcasts and all these different things. But I gradually expanded that my comfort zone. And yeah, I ended up going to Bali with the intention of growing my health coaching business. But when I started casually and passionately talking about human design, people were asking me for readings. So I was doing them, and it just spiraled. The word was spreading. I was getting messages. Can you do mine? Can I, all these things? And I was getting invitations to come to different retreats. So by then, thank goodness, I'd like built up my fear with public speaking. But the first event I ever did, I was like, I can't do this alone. So I invited a friend to like hold the space with me, even though she wasn't an expert in human design, but I just needed someone to hold the space with me. So, I did it gradually. Yeah. And I realized that this is my calling. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm literally being invited left, right, and center to talk about it, to share it, to educate, to help people through their life transitions, through their career transitions. And that's what I do now.
Isn't it so amazing how like my story to emotion code is similar to yours, as someone emotion coded me, and it blew my
Mhm.
mind and changed my life in so many ways that I did a full on deep dive into it, much like what you're describing with human design. It's so interesting and intriguing and beautiful how the things that we're truly meant to do, they eventually find us. Like, no matter where you are on your path, it's going to find you.
Yes,
For
and
sure.
you like surrender to it, because that was also a really hard time in my life as well.
Mhm.
And I was actually supposed to go to Bali with my partner, and we planned it for like a year. And the day before, I found out he wasn't coming, and I never would have gone if I knew that he wasn't coming. I wouldn't have gone. If I didn't
Right.
go, all this wouldn't have happened to me. And if he came like as planned, I wouldn't be publicly speaking and networking. I would be nice, comfortable in a villa, all loved up, you know?
Right, right. You would
So
have
it's like,
settled right down and not been
yeah,
pushing yourself. Mine too was also brought on by a challenging time in life. I had lost my father to cancer, and it's what even prompted me to push out into that space. You know, we have these ideas in our mind that things are happening to us rather than for us in so many ways, as we propagate this narrative that we are victims of our own story. And what I've found is that the greatest challenges in my life and the biggest struggles, just like you're mentioning with that terrible breakup and kind of being left floating in this sea of like, okay, well, what now? It
yeah,
allowed you to really concretize and solidify a new path into such a more expansive version of yourself that's able to impact so many people in a
mm,
positive way.
yeah. And I just had to surrender to the situation, and I just
Yeah.
trusted. I just had to trust the universe. Like, hey, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to find my community. I'm going to find my way. I was scared because I didn't know when my next paycheck was coming, all those things. And it's like, I just know that the universe is looking after me. It has to
Hmm.
be.
Hmm.
um, so yeah.
That's such
Um,
an important piece to keep too. Like when we're able to just trust in the source and trust in the universe, it does feed us back. It feeds us back in such a positive way. We often think that things should look the way that we've envisioned them in our mind, and if it doesn't look that way, then something's wrong.
yeah.
But often, like, what we envision is based on having all of these traumas of our past emotionally trapped inside of us. And those visions are so limited.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Would would you tell me a bit more about what that emotion code like is, in like a very concise, like what exactly is the emotion code? Would you tell?
So, the emotion code is literally a code of emotions. It is a code sheet that contains 60 emotions. These are the most um, common and impactful negative emotions that we feel as human beings. They're derived from traditional Chinese medicine. So, of course, they're related to the organs of the body where we
Mm,
store trapped emotions. And I use this chart as I'm guided by the person's subconscious to release whatever emotions are trapped within their subconscious. So, think about a trapped emotion like, think about it like food. I always use food analogies, right? Think about
mm,
it like food that you can't digest. When you consume a lot of fried foods, processed foods, alcoholic beverages, you acidify the body and you make it a home for things like bacteria and viruses and illness. Um, those you also do things like back up your systems from being able to process, right? Like we've got all these people with Crohn's and with all these stomach issues, right? They're unable to literally digest food. Think about
mm,
trapped emotions in that same way. We're taking in traumas, which are the alcohol, the processed foods, the fatty, fried elements. Those are like the traumas that we take in, and they're gumming up our energetic system and creating a space where we can't process what's going on in our environment, as well as a place of dis-ease, which creates disease. So it also creates a space where negative inflammation and viruses and bacteria and biofilm and all those things can build up because you're not able to optimize your flow of energy through your organs to keep them super, super healthy, through your body, through your mind, through your emotional mind. Studies say that we remember that memories are like 50% accurate, which means that when we're doing things like reliving these traumatic memories and stuff, half of what we're remembering isn't even really what happened. Yet it puts our body within a physical state that keeps us trapped in that place, emotionally trapped in that mindset, in whatever we were feeling at that moment. So someone sits down in front of me, they give me the permission to do a session on them, and all they have to do is just sit back and relax. And what I'll do is begin looking at their energetic body, and it just comes up just like a feed on your Instagram. It'll be like shame and guilt and overwhelm and anxiety just served up on a platter. Whatever your body is willing to get rid of, whatever your emotional mind is willing to get rid of in that moment, I'm able just to take those things out and rid you of those pesky trapped emotions that are impacting how you're showing up every day. And just after like 3 sessions, if not just after your first session, people will start to recognize, like, I've had some people say it's like a Zoloft. They just wake up one day and feel better. I've got other people who say that they just feel more like themselves. Other people who have been stuck in these ruts, unable to make decisions about how to move forward in their life, all of a sudden have great clarity after these trapped emotions are removed, because they're acting as blockages for your forward motion, for your emotional expansion. Traditional psychology says that we stop our emotional growth at the time when we experience our greatest trauma. For most of us, that's very, very young. If you get through junior high unscathed, like, you are somehow a magical being, because it just comes crashing and crashing and crashing down. Just the need for external validation, the bullying, the, pressure to do things like drugs and alcohol and sex, and just, you're never good enough. All these kind of things start stacking on insecurities that we already feel about ourselves, nervousness and anxieties we already feel about ourselves, much like what you were describing about how you felt in your youth. That's for a reason. There's not like, it's not like not based on anything that you felt anxiety in those spaces where you were supposed to be speaking to people or doing presentations. It's likely because you've got trapped emotions around. They don't even have to be from this life, right? They can be brought over from past life experiences, essentially prenatal traumas that we have. So yeah, it's an amazing, amazing process. And I think it fits so well with human design. So I will kick it back to you to share more about how you do human design consulting. Because as a person who has used the human design application to see what my human design energy type is, I'm so curious of what that looks like in the consulting space.
Yeah, absolutely. So human design is a self-knowledge system based on ancient wisdoms, such as the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, the I Ching. It's also based on astrology and quantum physics. And what human design shows us is that we all have a purpose here, and we are all perfectly designed to achieve our purpose. So my tagline is that the thing I always say is, you are designed to be successful. you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when we work in alignment with what we have, the talents we have, the gifts we have, the way our energy is flowing, it's flowing in a certain way to attract certain things that are meant for us. And that's when we can achieve our goals a lot quicker and more sustainably and smoother and in a more fulfilling way. And it's just easier. Like when I was in Bali and all the messages were coming, you know, I was just getting messages out of the blue. It was all, you know, it was just flowing. And when we work against our natural design, maybe we see someone else being really successful in the way they're doing it, and we try to do it like them because it's working for them, we can put ourselves potentially out of alignment if that's not how we're designed to show up. Or, you know, conditioning is a big one. If we're showing up in the way we think we should, for me, it was I had a lot with my communication of thinking that in order to be taken seriously, I had to be very factual and scientific and concise, and, you know, otherwise people will question, who are you?
Right, right.
So these conditioning, these beliefs, that can put us away, because my natural talent in my throat center is to speak intuitively in flow through storytelling. And that belief that I picked up was pulling me away from my most powerful self. And even when I started my health coaching business, I was speaking in the factual language, and I thought, okay, I really need to be very specific and factual. And then people, you know, this is why you should drink this, or this is, you know. But when I changed my style, how I'm actually designed to communicate, first of all, it was very scary because it's a very vulnerable place to be so like raw and just intuitive. It's scary to share your intuition.
Yeah.
But it actually rewarded me, and it attracted so much more towards me. So yeah, in my human design consultations, what I do is I basically do a gap analysis. By the way, yeah, you heard earlier, I used to be a data analyst. So I have this like data analyst background, psychology degree, coaching experience, and I bring it all together under human design. But I basically do an analysis of where you are right now, how you're currently operating, how you're currently showing up, compared to how you could be in your highest potential as your best, truest self, and looking at that gap, and then helping you take the steps to bridge the gap and to show up in that higher place, which most of the time it isn't easy. You know, me showing up and changing my communication style and doing all those things, it wasn't easy. So that's where the coaching comes in as well, of like expanding what your nervous system can handle gradually. So yeah, that's what I do. Sorry.
No, I was going to ask, so coming from that data analysis background, do I take like an inventory before I do my first session with you, and then you compare that later? Or is it something that is just more or less concretized than doing that? Is it more what is it, subjective?
So this is actually, I would say this is what makes me unique. I think this is my unique selling point. I think this is what makes me unique, is that I'm very structured. I use human design as my base, as my structure, and I yeah, it's like grounded. But then I use my intuition as well. So it kind of opens up my intuition. But using the grounded structure of the human design opens up my intuition, and that's how I can relay what the receiver needs to hear. But yeah, it's in the moment. It's not like you
Okay.
fill out a form or anything. It's, I see your chart. I'm asking you questions to kind of gauge where you're at. And if I'm identifying a gap that I can see in your chart and that I can see in you, then I'm able to help you bridge it.
I love that you brought up that coaching piece, because, you know, it's such a strong element for helping people get to where they need to go. Like, I could take all the trapped emotions out that I want, but people still need to process. And that's where those psychology backgrounds that we have come in. And people still need the integration of actual tools to help them along their way. So it's like, okay, I've recognized the trapped emotions, or I've recognized the deficits in the human design chart, But now here are some tools that you can use, that we've removed these trapped emotions or relocated these deficits. These are ways in which you can build up, refortify, take your power back, so that you feel the kind of confidence level that you really need to achieve these goals, to draw these boundaries, to walk into that store, to get into that taxi cab. I believe you were telling me about some anxiety that you experienced kind of following up after COVID.
Yes, I'm so excited to have a session with you because I haven't had it yet. And the exciting thing is we're actually going to do it live. So we
Yeah.
will do a session of me having a session live so you guys can see what it looks like. But the one thing that I've been struggling with recently is, since COVID, I've just developed, which I didn't have it before, this anxiety around claustrophobia, and especially being on like the underground or in a taxi, anywhere that's in an enclosed space. It's bad. It's like, I need to get out of there. Am I going to survive this? Am I going to have a heart attack? Like, am I going to get out? Like and I never used to have that. So I wondered if the emotion code is something that could help me remove this horrible anxiety. Please tell me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It can. We can get to the, it's a response, like you're being triggered by something. And so we can figure out, why is this thing even triggering you in the first place, using the emotion code system. I'm so curious to know. So like, I really struggle recording myself without an audience. I am not a selfies girl. I need like a lot of external stimulation as a generator, right? My human design as a generator energy, I really need a lot of that. And I'm wondering to shine and be my best self. And I'm really curious to know if human design, and excited to get my consultation from you. But really wondering if that's something that you could support me with. Because I
Yeah.
imagine it's a problem that a lot of people feel like they're not on unless there's a reason to be on, kind of.
Yes. And this, it ties back to like our strategy as well, how we're all different. So, you see other people recording themselves with ease, and and you're like, why can't I just be like them? Why can't I just, I'm terrible. But no, you're just designed differently. And, I have the exact same struggles as you. And it's because I've seen your chart. It's because we both have our throat center undefined, which means we don't have consistent energy on here. It's actually an open like center where the energy from our external comes in, then we get amplified. So when we record videos on our own, and I try, because when I first started my health coaching career, I thought, okay, everyone's recording these online programs and they just record the training, they pop it up, they get nice passive easy income. I'm going to do that.
Right?
Genius.
Easy. Just
Yeah. So I would try like every night to sit down. Obviously, I have a lot to say. Every night I'd sit down and I could not get enough stimulate. There was not enough stimulation. I couldn't get my words out. And I was trying for a long time. And then, when I discovered my throat center was undefined, I was like, oh, I need an audience. This is why I need an audience. So for me now, I let go of that strategy that does not work for me. And I use workshops. I do workshops, I do podcasts, I do events, I'm working with people. And that's my strategy now. So if I want content, I record me live. That's the best way to record me live. And it's the same for you, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. As we wind down, it's so funny because I have this vision of myself as a child, even as a child, right? Setting up all my stuffed animals and like teaching them. So like, even as a child, I needed to have that audience in order to turn on. As you were talking about creating a structure that works for you, I was like, maybe if I put a picture of an audience on my screen, I'll be able to like, I'm sure there's an AI for that, right? I'm sure I
Yeah,
could
but
like get that ball rolling. But I'm super excited to hear what you learn from the session that we do when we dedicate the 30 minutes to the human design, so we can show people what it's all about, and also an emotion code session so people can get more familiar with what it is that we do.
Absolutely. So just to finish, first of all, thank you so much. This is our first live. It's really exciting. I'm so proud of us.
I pat on the back.
Yeah. And if anyone here wants to go further, if you want to learn more about emotion code, Alexis actually has a free wellness guide. You can point, yeah, which you can down. If you basically, you have to really zoom in and try and scan the barcode. But if not, you can DM her, pop in her DM, send her a message, and she'll send you a special free link for this guide that she has.
Yes, I also offer free 15-minute consultation. So if you're on the fence, you're curious if emotion code or holistic life coaching is for you, then just pop into my DMs and write the word free, and we can connect.
Amazing. And if anyone here is interested in learning more about your human design, you can DM, or you can scan this link, that link there, which will bring you to a page where you can find out your human design type. And there's a nice free introductory video of what that means and how to align to it, so that you can start aligning for success today.
Yeah.
And yeah, drop me a DM otherwise, and I will send you a link over.
It's time for everyone to unlock their potential. So excited for our next LinkedIn Live. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye, Fiona.